kids in the toy store for a while.
It's fun.
But with that said, we're going to have a chance to network for a little bit while after Mike speaks. First, I got very little information on Mike, and then I got this wonderful background about all the wonderful things that he's done. He's worked in animation, he's worked in digital marketing and social media marketing for years. And Mike, I'm going to let you tell your bits of your story as you go through your presentation.
Thank you.
Please welcome Mike. And what's the best way to pronounce your last name?
Rate.
Rate.
Although I have some of my best friends, I went to his wedding, he's been calling me Rataj for 10 years since I met him, and my wife called me Michael. He's like, you call him Michael? It's Rataj. So I'll answer to a lot of different things. Michael Rate, Ball Brain Creative, good to meet some of you. I believe you were at the golf outing last year, right? I feel like I got some photos of you because you were on one of the mailers. So I went to school for animation, Columbia, so I went for animation and film. Quickly left that to chase money and get involved with mortgages for 2.5 years, right around 07, 08. Right when that all collapsed, I went into futures trading, where I spent 8 years as a retail broker in Union Station. 3 to 4 years before I left that, I started doing my marketing as a broker. First, just writing 4 to 5 financial blogs a week about the different economic numbers, PMI, jobless claims, non-farm payroll reports, and then the other USDA reports. And then I went from that, writing about silver, twice a month for this bi-monthly newsletter that would go out to 17,000 people. And then I transitioned that to social media because that's where I could reach people that weren't just on the email list. They were outside of the scope and newer people that I wanted to get in touch with. And so that's where my first experience with social media actually happened. I just started doing it for myself. I was working the marketing lady. There was the marketing lady and then the compliance lady were sitting very close to me in the office. If anyone knows anything about financial industry, you have to be very precise about what you say and what you don't say. So I learned from the compliance lady the box that I could play in as far as what kind of content I can actually put out. Not necessarily recommending trades, but give all the backstory before saying buy this. I would just say, well, here's, China's doing this, the US is doing this, here's your demand. So I learned what kind of box I could actually play in to create content. And so that's what all this social media is about. Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, whatever the new one's gonna be next week. They're all about creating content. And what it is depending on who your actual customers are. If you're trying to reach the younger demographic, you want to be a little more hip and you want to be on Instagram. If you're trying to reach more of the office people, maybe a little more affluent, that's where they're going to be on LinkedIn. But they're also on Facebook, they're also on Twitter. And so I think just understanding your demographic and who you're speaking to is the type of content that you put out on these platforms. So I can just go into my talk, right? I kind of started doing that. So quick, based on you guys, first couple apps that you check when you wake up in the morning, is it email or Facebook? Raise of hands, anybody Facebook?
An email.
LinkedIn? Early?
I get the news first.
Via?
Google News.
Google. So, and then I actually get a lot of mine.
Tribune.
And Tribune. So I get a lot of mine through Twitter and even Facebook. I'm like Wall Street Journal and Bloomberg, I have them as my first stories. So the first thing when I pull up my feed, I can see at least the last 6 stories from them. So the reason I'm asking that about you is because a lot of the reasons, that's typically where your customers are going to be first thing in the morning, where back in the day we may have turned on channel 9 or 7 to read the news. Now we'll just, while we're still in bed or on the bathroom or something, we may actually just do it then, and that's where you'll get your news, and then you'll check it 2 hours later, and then an hour after that, and then 3 hours after that. And so that's the point of doing more content on these platforms, because with Channel 7, you know, if you wanted to try and promote your business, you would spend the $25,000 on a big production. Then you'd need to reserve your ad time on them, and however long that's going to go. So you'd focus on just one giant piece that you're just going to keep plastering all throughout the day, try and put a commercial every commercial break. Now it's more about speed, and so you have the ability to record something a little more cost effective and still be able to put it and change your message every time. Because so many times we'll just tune out of reading or watching the same thing. It's like, yeah, I know, I get it. But people are receptive to actually learning from a brand instead of just hearing a pitch. So you can, before we had to just focus all of our energy, get like a 30 person team to make the hamburger flip look really good. You can now throw in testimonials. You can now throw in stories about, you know, the farmers, the things that you do that make your burger or your restaurant special. So again, the type of platforms, like where you're actually going to put this stuff is going to be dependent on if it's for a younger crowd. That's where you're going to want. You'll still focus on getting a celebrity or, you know, an influencer to kind of promote your product. Whereas LinkedIn, people would be more business centric, and so you just want to try and create some kind of, maybe talk about your catering service on LinkedIn for meetings, and you know, like have a group of people falling asleep at the table, say, "Are your meetings boring? How about some fun burgers?" Or, you know, that's the kind of language you're going to want to use depending on the different platform to try and appeal to the different people. So Twitter. What do you guys typically use?
To the different age groups and what their primary platform is that are doing business. So, you know, people that are young entrepreneurs, what platform are they using as opposed to middle-aged business owners?
So the younger people are on Instagram and Twitter. Twitter has been this weird stepchild, but once the president started using that as a direct source of communication, it got a lot more attention. And so once people sort of understood that there's a central figure, I think before, like Ashton Kutcher was on there, and he was like the first person to get to 1 million followers, and so that made people interested, but then you lose track. But then once you get a president using it as a direct communication, people just come on. So Instagram, which is also owned by Facebook, but what happened is your parents and your grandparents ended up getting onto Facebook, so the kids wanted something else to do, and then that became Instagram, and now that's where a lot of younger kids, you know, their marketing plan are selfies, which, whatever, it works for some people, but it's just where that, for a while, that was one of my first apps that I would look at, like just when I wake up, you know. And I think you ask a lot of people, again, depending on the group, a lot of younger people, that's the first app they're going to look at. And it's not necessarily about news, but it's just random direct communications from whomever they're following. And if it's Oreo or someone that just has something unique and funny, then that's the kind of response and what you'll get on Instagram. So their max video length is 60 seconds on Instagram. So it's very short form. Let me back up a sec. It started as only photos. There's been photo sharing platforms, Flickr, SmugMug, and then, so there were all these different photo platforms, but for some reason Instagram just made it very easy to just have it as a news feed and digest all the posts. So it started as photos, then they moved to 15-second videos. Then once they saw how well the 15-second videos were doing, they moved to a minute, and now they test it out and it's failing, something called IGTV, which is where they're able to do like longer form 4 to 5 minute content on there but you can still get the 60-second preview, and then if you want to watch more, it's still in-app that you could watch it, but it's just a way for them to continue expanding really what the customer's needs are. On Instagram, are you guys all on it?
Do we all what?
Are you all on Instagram?
I don't go on it. I mean, I'm on it, but I don't really
But you don't
know
really
how to
understand.
go
Okay.
on it.
So the general, you have your content stream, which is just what everyone's posting. And then one of the hacks that they borrowed from Snapchat. When they tried to buy Snapchat, Snapchat turned them down. So they stole what was cute from Snapchat and made it into this 24-hour story thing, because Snapchat became hot when there was the big privacy issue with Facebook and Instagram, and everyone's like, oh my gosh, everyone's stealing our information. So Snapchat made it where you can communicate, and then within 24 hours, it was gone. Whether it's on some company's servers in California, I'm not going to get into that, but the idea is that if you go to someone's profile on Snapchat, it'll be gone after 24 hours. So Facebook tried to buy Snapchat. They rejected them, so they're like, fine, we're going to take what's cute about you and we're just going to steal it, which is why Facebook has stories and Instagram has stories. And what those things are is just hacks to stay at the front of your platform. This might be kind of difficult to see, but so this is the news feed, but at the top, those are still like the people that I interact with the most. And so, I mean, the whole point of all this stuff, since it's a fire hose of information, what you want to do is just make sure you're doing something interesting enough that people can actually see you. So if you can somehow be in the top 3 of your potential customer, that's why you do stories. Because if you're going to do something, they may miss you in this, but first thing right when they open it, they'll see these. So
When
then,
you say stories, I mean, how long is the copy? Or is it just a couple sentences under?
yeah, it's like just a couple sentences, and it's like, my camera's broke, but it's I mean, it's all like this vertical, and it's more like jokes. Like, it's not as much of a post like where you would do with Facebook, where there's the picture and then you can write like 6 paragraphs.
Right.
You can kind of like take a selfie and then draw devil signs, put an emoji, put a pizza icon, TGIF, sleep, whatever. So it's also being playful and understanding, again, the context.
What would be an example, a business example?
So, like, real estate, I think, has the best example because you're always traveling. So a lot of that, maybe I'm going to go back on this, but that's a lot of things that you're always going to new places. Like coming into a gorgeous building like this, like you'd want to advertise that and you want to show this is where I'm going.
So similar to checking in on Facebook.
Right, exactly, same thing. And that's what a lot of it is very similar. If you can understand one platform, it's just slightly tweaked on the others. Like, same thing as a tweet. I mean, just say, hey, I just checked into the Hyatt Water's Edge. Have you checked out this gorgeous building? It's this, you're just giving different kind of content.
So I'd like all of you to speak up, let's have a conversation going, because in my mind, we kind of explored Instagram and the platforms for younger business people. So let's go up a notch.
LinkedIn.
Okay.
So LinkedIn is where, I'm going to try this. LinkedIn is just where successful and more business-minded people are. For a while, I don't think we knew what it would be. Microsoft bought them. We weren't sure what was going to happen. But now it's become yet another content stream. So, I'm sure you guys are all on LinkedIn, and you just see like everyone's doing their proud videos. Their week challenge of just posting some silly videos.
So what would be your tips for best use of LinkedIn to grow our business?
Valuable content. I think a lot of times, treat it like Facebook, but don't post your selfies, don't post your family stuff, but talk more about your business on there. So things that people made, like, I still haven't done it, but I will do something to the best way to make videos is my thing to do on there, and then the best practices on the platforms. So what I've been doing to help grow my business is all these people that I see with the shaky videos, I send them an actual message. I say, hey, buy the $20 tripod with the phone clip. Like, you're gonna get just better videos. So that's how I try and provide value to them specifically. Like Tim, you could probably talk about data, and just the tech landscape is just ever changing. So just new business things that you can help that might pertain to your next potential customer.
I have
something to do.
The Eastgate does corporate catering, and I'm thinking I could write a blog on the team building at lunch, or the importance of having breakfast, and
Yeah.
so if I did that, where would I post that? Because I don't know if the Eastgate has a LinkedIn page.
That's step one. Get them a company page.
Okay. Just run that like a auxiliary website almost.
Right. And so it's similar to Facebook, where we had our individual Facebook pages and then we made company pages. LinkedIn, you have your individual, and then I have a Bullbrain Creative Company page where I would post the content there. And then what is remarkable about all of these platforms is that you can just target like who exactly you want to reach. So if you know that it's only Chicago companies within like a 3 square mile radius, and they have the title of admin assistant because they're the ones that are always buying the lunch, I mean, you could just only target them. So whether it's sponsored content or you can get into their in-mail. I don't personally, I don't like the in-mail. When I get an in-mail message from someone, I was like, I don't want you in my freaking inbox. Like, that just turns me off even more. I don't mind seeing a sponsored content in my news feed. So that's where you just got to know what your personal kind of feelings are.
As opposed to getting in message.
Right, which that just immediately turns me off from the company. But I don't mind seeing something sponsored in my feed. So, you can try in-mail. It may make people feel weird, but I would think just sponsoring it directly to the demographic that you're looking to, like 3 square miles from Oak Park, with the title admin manager.
So can we talk offline?
Yes,
and
yeah.
you help me do that, because I have no idea.
Yes.
So,
And actually, one more thing on that. With the LinkedIn and Facebook, all these things, like for a while, the organic targeting, that's what we all wanted to go for because organic was fun. But now that it's so busy, and we saw what happened with the 2016 election, you can target directly who you want to reach. So
what do you mean by organic marketing?
Organic is just like you would post something, you'd use 6 hashtags, and then people would just coincidentally find you. Which is, again, it's just up to chance. You just hope you do something really good, and then someone is just looking for your thing, and then they find you. Whereas with the paid ads, I'm helping someone market a co-working space. So we sent out postcards to 3 square miles of the space. In addition to that, we did Facebook ads to entrepreneurs, small businesses, and contractors in 3 square miles from the co-working space. So like, we know, people that have a job aren't looking for a co-working space. So we want entrepreneurs and small business owners. So like, that's where we want our message in front of. So as far as businesses are concerned, if you know who you're speaking to, your direct targeting you can really play with that. Then the whole thing is why marketers get paid what they get paid, because that picture needs to look really good. That copy needs to convert. How many times do you see McDonald's or Taco Bell ads and it takes you 3 weeks to end up buying the taco? So to incite the action is the whole other step of marketing. Just because you have the ease to post a picture doesn't mean it'll incite someone to follow your call to action.
Yeah. Others of you have questions?
Like, I was just going to make a comment, if that's okay.
Yeah.
So we use social media often, right, obviously. And the thing I'll tell you is, it is sometimes very hard to have very different messages across Facebook, LinkedIn, and everything because it's a lot of content and positioning. So we use an aggregator. We use Sprout, actually. So
Yeah.
an aggregator, what I mean by that is there's a platform that you can basically put your message up and you can say, post it on LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, blah, blah, all at one time and get it all done. It kind of takes away from the personalization of each of the channels,
Right.
but at least gets you out there and gets you on those channels so that people can see you, which is kind of nice. Like I said, our social media results are sometimes sketchy. You never know. It's very hard unless you put really interesting ROI metrics behind it.
A
But
landing
I think
page.
It's kind of like the thing where you have to be there. It's almost like networking events sometimes too, that
Right.
if you're not there, you're never going to get a chance to talk to somebody, so you need to make sure you have a presence out there, which is great. But the other thing that I was going to mention too about something like Sprout as a social media platform is they now have the ability for you to actually go just find content that you can post on your behalf. So like you can, they'll have recommended articles. Like for us, we're a cloud services company. We can go on and search for topics and articles around cloud, really well written stuff, and we can actually grab it and put it into our feed. So that we're actually, it's almost like having a whole world full of copywriters to some degree with topics that we can utilize and put through our channels to get people to maintain them on our
Well,
feeds.
you can use Google search too, because I do that for some of my clients. So I've got content to
Right.
grab for social media posts.
Right.
And even LinkedIn on that too. With my company page, there's a content finder, and so you could pick your topics. And LinkedIn is starting to show like this has a 50% like read rate or click rate or whatever. So like LinkedIn's starting to help do some of that Sprout Social, where you can then share.
To me, it's
Relevant information.
It's kind of like NBC that has all the original programming, but they populate a lot of it with some old reruns.
Right, yeah.
Somewhere, so it's other people's articles and stuff that they put on.
That's a great
And let
way
them
to
run
phrase
to
it.
make sure they keep people on NBC versus switching
Right.
the channel. You know, that's kind of what it comes down to. So
And it's called an aggregator?
Yes.
I call it an aggregator. I don't know if that's the actual term, is it, for Sprout?
That, yeah. If anything that's like collecting 30 different sources to give you one feed to read it all is an aggregator.
It's just an easy way if you have a very small shop to be able to say, okay, today I'm going to be at the SKC meeting this morning, and I'm talking to different people, and I'm seeing this presentation, and hit it once, and it can go to 5 different channels, all at once. It's the same message. So if you have fans that are watching your Twitter, your Facebook, and everything else, it's going to be the same thing. But a lot of times that's not the case. A lot of people that will only follow your Facebook or only follow your LinkedIn or whatever the case may be.
So there are specific sites that do that? I don't know.
There's a couple, like it's not as many. Like Hootsuite can help, and Sprout.
Hootsuite?
Hoot.
Hoot.
Yeah.
H-O-O?
No, those are paid services
So
generally for that.
I have a question about blogs.
Yeah.
The Allergan, the way that Google puts blogs on keeps changing.
Right.
Algorithm is what I was looking for.
Yeah.
And what is the current specs for getting a blog out?
Good luck.
Google, and actually that kind of comes in nicely to my eventual pitch. Google is just more on a timely thing. So like the social media, you just need to keep being there. Google's going to do the same searching. They just want you to keep being there. So like maybe in these 2 days or 3 days you'll be up top, but if it's 3 weeks since your last blog, you're not going to be near the top with Google. Now, if you'll search in Google for how do I do something, the top result has actually been a video with like starting at the spot in the video on YouTube that answers your question. So like, the blogs are still below that, but then there's still videos that are making like top precedence in Google. So timely is the way.
All right, and the size of blogs.
That's where.
I keep getting different information.
Right. I think it depends how good of a writer you are, and then what your attention span is. Like younger people are probably just want a paragraph, but if you have enough to say for like 6, 7, 8 paragraphs, it's worth doing.
It depends on what the topic is. I mean, it used to be 300 words was a blog. Now it's 1,500 words. If you've got a if somebody goes on a blog to get information, they want information. They don't just want a couple of paragraphs.
Right.
But if it's just you want to announce someone just joined your firm, I mean,
It's a
three
newsworthiness of it
paragraphs
that's
is
most
fine.
important.
It varies. And also on blogs, I think best practices, a lot of people will just put the link and they'll say, read my blog. But I think if you have a LinkedIn or a Facebook, like what you need to do is actually put the meat of your lead, put that in the Facebook copy. So like the actual blog copy, and this is where I'd say try it all, because so many times we want people to leave the blog or leave Facebook to read our blog on our website and potentially get lost, but that really doesn't happen. Like, so do a cool picture on Instagram and then put your blog in that copy. Like whatever the exact same thing you're doing on the website, but just put it with a cool picture. And that way you'll have a better chance of people reading it too, and then you'll see what kind of engagements, and people are like, oh, this is great, whatever. But I think that's good practice as far as like cross-pollinating, cross-promoting all this stuff is don't just send a link, put some of that actual content on the social platforms. So even LinkedIn, put like the last paragraph and then say, okay, read the blog.
There's a reason there's a movie trailer for
Right.
the whole movie. Because you gotta get in time.
And it's so hard to make people leave, like, so you don't want to fight that. Like they're going to have their 5 minutes to just scroll through Facebook. So just put your good info there, and then if they're interested, they'll leave.
The reason Chicago's laugh when you talk about the algorithms for Google is because no one knows. Like,
And
Google
it changes
changes
every...
constantly.
Yeah.
They keep everyone guessing because if anyone figures it out, then they know how to manipulate the game.
But
so,
I think the secret really is to always have new copy. I
Yes.
mean, if you can do it every day. Like with the Eastgate, they had no presence online, and I started doing
Get lost.
announcements for different events that they have. So I've got an announcement going out almost every day because there's different things happening.
Good. So you've got us into conversation, but I think you had a few more things you wanted to say. So please go
Yeah.
ahead.
Well, my big pitch is that I got into video to help provide cost-effective content for people. So many times we can do it with our phone. It might be good with, if you have a little quick update. Hey, I'm at the water's edge. Can you believe how gorgeous this place is? Look at the lake, blah, blah, blah. But I have levels. I believe in, you can have one commercial if you want to spend, if you want that as your landing page on the home page where you want to spend a day to film stuff and get a lot of B-roll and get a good commercial. I can do that, but I also, if someone wants to be the star, the CEO, a manager of a company, I'm getting into more subscription stuff. So I can come out for once a month for like 2 hours. We film with 2 cameras. You get a little bit of B-roll, so you have just new stuff that you can keep posting. And so it looks better than what you'll get with your phone, and you can have more timely updates. So that's my pitch, or my ask.
Mike, thank you very much. Any other questions before?
I was just going to say, the importance of video, I don't think can be overstated, because I opened up my Facebook now. All the pictures are moving when I talk to
Say it louder.
Facebook. It used to be it would be a flat picture and there'd be copy, and I'd open up the copy and I'd read. Well, now I click on that and stuff moves and talks.
Mhm.
Which is disconcerting if you're in the middle of a meeting.
Right.
So,
Oops.
but that's a definite change that's happened
And
recently.
and there's something fun about it, and then like there's the newness of it when people do it with their phone, and then you're like, okay, I've seen this before. Like it's fun the first couple times when someone does it like sloppy with their phone, unless they're really like good with what they have to say, or
But
it loses its thing, which is where I got into the
selling the business. And by the way,
getting people to do
I
it.
should talk about a blog on your site about this. But once people get used to moving pictures, it's very hard to go back to two-dimensional.
Static.
Doesn't work. And even if it's just a 10-second clip of what my office looks like, or a comment, but here's our CEO, please say hello, Mike, and then move on. But it just elevates the website tremendously. So I think it's going to become more important.
It's just funny how recycled. Like I said,
Yeah.
the age of silent films to color and sound.
Right.
We're back to the radio to videos.
Right.
Right.
I mean, things just continues to progress and wipe out everything else.
Because we're also back at audio too.
Right.
Like, what do you guys typically listen to? Podcasts or music?
I listen
Music, man. Music, podcasts. So many people that I'm talking to, like, I barely listen to music anymore. It's just podcasts, and so that's where, it goes back to the radio because it's easier because you have so much stuff to do, so you can't watch it. But a lot of times you can repurpose your video for when someone has the time to do that, and then you can do it as audio too. So as long as you have good audio, you're able to strip it, and I can have a podcast of me talking where you don't have to just see the beautiful background.
Anyone has any kids, I think you've probably seen, my kids never watch TV shows anymore. I think back to the days when Friends had $1 million an episode for each of the actors to do this glorious production, and my kids now spend half hour watching somebody feed a baby for 10 minutes or 30 minutes at a time. I'm like, why is this interesting? But this is all they watch is just crap videos of everyday things. So
Red button.
And they're the new buyers.
Yep.
So you gotta figure out how to make that work.
Cool.
Other thoughts, questions for Mike?
So, do you feel, let me see if I think you might have already alluded to this, that when somebody's providing content, whether it's on...
Yourself being the potential customer?
Correct, or yes, but in this case, let's say you're trying to sell to an audience. What I'm asking is, do you feel that providing things that are not necessarily related to the service that you have, but just something that they can use for themselves, you being a professional,
Yes.
you're able to provide it. Do you feel that that's a good way to...
Yes. So when I was doing financial market stuff, I started getting more involved with golf and cigars and nice cars and talking about those things too, because I know that I think everything's got a wheelhouse. And so I think, again, depending on who you're speaking to, that's where knowing your demographic is key. If you know if it's more affluent people, so what are they interested in? And then it can be mixed in with some of the value directly pertaining to your business, and then it's just it's part of their interests that make them, interested. Because if it's just stuff about the business, people get bored. We all do that. As much as we want to say we're business, audio. I love watching cartoons. I was an animator, so of course I had that excuse. But still, I love business, but at the same time, there's also those playful things that we can do. So I think they're part of the wheelhouse, understanding who you're talking to.
I think it's all about the relationship. So even though you're talking about cigars and cars, you're still connecting with that person.
Exactly,
And that's
because I knew
what
I was talking to
that
them.
person trust you when it comes to giving you their business.
Right.
So that's a great segue. We've got some time left, and I just encourage us all to stand up and enjoy each other informally. I know you've got some questions for Mike. Thanks all for being here, and please just enjoy each other's company.
Thank you. Thanks for the opportunity. Appreciate it. Yeah, I'm staying. Thanks.